Good morning, or depending when you're watching this, good afternoon, good evening, or good night. My name is Ross, and as always told, out of Voice Radio. So today, I'm going to be showing you a wonderful Slowking deck. It plays no energy, and it's really kind of fun. It was made by the lovely Emil Tronier, and I'm sorry for mispronouncing your name. What makes me really happy, he posted the list online, and this was at Frankfurt Regional, so he was playing this on my birthday, and he posted it with PTCGRadio. Ross, thank you once again for making the Grand Ball video. More on that in a second. This inspired me to build Slowking for our format, and today I came 58th out of 191 players going 5-3 with Slowking at the Offenbach League Cup in day 2 of the Regional. So much fun! Oh, it's amazing, ladies and gentlemen. So thanks to Emil for playing the deck and for giving me a shout out and all of that. That makes me happy. So what does Slowking do? Well, Slowking's got an attack, 3 energy, 110 damage, not good. But if you have no cards in hand, then it's actually an attack for 0 energy. And this is very similar to Grand Ball. Now, Grand Ball, I did a video on it, as Emil said. I'll pop a link in the description. But basically, this does 160 for 1 energy if you've got 0 cards in your hand. Now, as a side note, I think Grand Ball is a much better Pokemon. I think 160 is way better than 110, even though you've got to have the 1 energy. I think Grand Ball's hitting GXs for 1-hit KOs with Choice Band. Slowking's doing it only if you're hitting for weakness. But first of all, kind of irrelevant given Grand Ball's not out yet, so you can't play it. And secondly, you're hitting weakness against stuff like Buzzwole, which is seeing a lot of play at the moment. So actually this is pretty gosh darn good. Now, there is a first attack here, but firstly, it's not particularly great. Search your deck for a card and put it in your hand, then shuffle your deck. And secondly, you're not playing any energy. So it doesn't matter how good the first attack is, you're literally not playing any energy. So it's kind of a moot point. Now, the reason I said Grand Ball works is the exact reason why Slowking works nowadays. It's actually 2 reasons. It's Macargo that lets you search for any card and put it on top of your deck, and it's a Rangaroo that lets you draw until you've got 3 cards in hand. You've got 0 cards in hand, you attack, if you take a KO you get a card or 2, but even regardless, next turn, put whatever card you want on top with Macargo, draw it with a Rangaroo, and even though you've only got 3 cards in hand time you've used Instruct, one of those is going to be the exact card you want. That's pretty good. And actually, if you get 2 Macargo out here, what you can do is have 1 to use a Rangaroo during your turn, and use a second one to essentially fix your top deck for the following turn. That sounds good to me. And that really is the deck in a nutshell. It's an extremely straightforward deck. I don't say that as any kind of insult. It's a brilliant deck, and the list is wonderful, and there's a few tricks going on, but at its very core, it's really simple. And to be fair, when Emil posted his list, he did say, the deck is simple, empty your hand, hit for 110. You try and use every card in your hand so that you can then use Macargo and a Rangaroo to make sure you got all the cards you need and you're not disadvantaged. Really, the trick with this deck is sequencing. Playing everything in the right order at the right time to make sure that firstly you've got an empty hand, and secondly that you've got everything sorted for when you inevitably have an empty hand. Now, the energy line, there is none, so let's drop straight over to the trainer cards here, and you see 4 Apricorn Maker. 4 Apricorn Maker. Now again, this comes straight from the Grand Ball list. Grand Ball loves Apricorn Maker, because Apricorn Maker lets you search for your ball cards. Now, firstly, you can search for your ball cards to actually get the Pokemon you want. Secondly, you can search for them just to thin your deck a little bit if you so wish. And thirdly, you can search Ultra Ball. And you can do weird things here. So let's say you really need a Slowking, and you've got 4 cards in hand. One's an Apricorn Maker. Play Apricorn Maker, grab 1 Ultra Ball, but nothing else. Discard the other 2 cards, you're good to go. If, however, you've got 3 cards in hand, including Apricorn Maker, you play Apricorn Maker, you grab an Ultra Ball, but there's only other 1 card in hand, so you also grab yourself a Nest Ball, and then you discard that, plus whatever the other card was, to grab yourself the Slowking. Remember, your deck is hidden knowledge here. You don't know what's in there. Well, you do, but your opponent doesn't. So you can search for up to 2 item cards with the word ball in, but you don't have to. You can grab 1 or 2. That's what I love about this. Sometimes you just want to grab an Ultra Ball. Other times you want to grab an Ultra Ball and something else, and this allows you to do so. Plus, it helps you get set up, because remember, you're not playing Tapu Lele. You can't play Tapu Lele here. You're playing Shrine of Punishment. Shrine of Punishment puts 1 damage on each Pokemon EX and GX between turns. It helps to make up for the fact that you've got a very, very low damage output compared to a lot of decks. 110 for 0 energy is great, but 110 is still low damage for what is essentially the only attack you're using. This helps to build up over time. This builds and builds and builds, and then you're absolutely golden as you go through the game. But Shrine of Punishment is needed with the 110, so you can't play something like a Tapu Lele, because if you start with it, it's eventually going to get KO'd. Or your opponent can just use a Guzma and KO it. You are working on a non-GX deck. Your opponent's taking 1 prize at a time. You're hitting a decent weakness. You've got Shrine of Punishment, etc. You've got to do it properly. You can't play Tapu Lele. So you play 4 Ultra Ball, 4 Nest Ball, and 4 Great Ball. That's right. Nest Ball gets you any basic Pokemon, puts it on the bench. Can't get Magcargo or Slowking, but it can get all your basics. Ultra Ball gets you any Pokemon at the cost of discarding 2 from your hand. The thing to remember about Ultra Ball here, it is absolutely golden for discarding cards from your hand, so that's very important to use it wisely. And Great Ball lets you look at the top 7 cards of your deck, grab a Pokemon, and put it in your hand. One of the reasons these ball cards are so good is you can fail them. Remember, your deck is secret. So you can play a Great Ball and not grab anything. If your hand is 2 Great Balls and a Nest Ball, just play them all. And maybe you grab a Pokemon to bench or evolve, but if you don't want to grab a Pokemon, you don't have to. And actually, it goes further, because Mysterious Treasure here is kind of like an Ultra Ball. Discard 1 card from your hand, search for a Psychic or Dragon Pokemon. So it only gets Slowpoke and Slowking here. It doesn't get your Slugma, your Magcargo, your Oranguru. But you get to discard 1 card from hand. So you want to discard 1 card from hand, Mysterious Treasure, 2 cards from hand, Ultra Ball, 0 cards from hand, Nest Ball or Great Ball. See how it all comes together? And then a card that I love that we see in these weird /speed decks. It's a card which isn't a staple in very many decks at all, but in decks like this, it's absolutely necessary. It's Order Pad. Flip a coin. If head, search your deck for an item card. So this can be one of your balls, or it can be your Shrine of Punishment, or it can be something like Bodybuilding Dumbbells or Rescue Stretcher. More on those in a moment. Or, if you've got the only card in your hand, just flip a coin. Do nothing regardless, or grab a Bodybuilding Dumbbells to attach to one of your Pokemon or whatever. This is a deck that needs burnable cards. We see the supporter line here, to go back to that, 4 Apricorn Maker, 4 Guzma. Obviously Guzma for dragging Pokemon off the bench and KOing them. Supporters and energy clog your hand. That is one of the reasons this actually has a slight advantage over Granbull, though I do think the damage output of Granbull does make it a significantly better deck. One of the things here is its supporters and energy. They are cards you can play 1 a turn, and after that you've got to discard them with Ultra Ball, etc. Whereas item cards, you can just play them down. I suppose tool cards as well could be a little bit of a pain, because tool cards, you've got to have a Pokemon on the field to which you've not already attached a tool. Okay, I'll give you that. So you need to be able to play your cards. That's why this is such an item-heavy deck. And yes, fine, Garboda's a stage 1 and it KOs you for a single energy, but it takes 1 prize, you take 1 prize, they need 1 energy, you need 0 energy. Garboda is not an issue here, don't worry about Garboda. As to finish off the deck for the rest of the items, we've got 4 Rescue Stretcher, because you're only really playing a 4/4 Slowking line. Now you're playing your Magcargo and your Oranguru, but really it's a 4/4 Slowking line. You need to be able to recover your Pokemon, and it's not just I'm playing 1 so I can recover a Slowking line, it's I'm playing 4 so I can recover as soon as I need to, because the timing is important. 4 Bodybuilding Dumbbells, because you're using a stage 1. This gives them an extra 40 HP, pretty important given that, you only got 120 HP. And free choice band to do extra damage to EXs and GXs. When you combine that with Shrine of Punishment, KOs are coming out. And yes, fine, your opponent's going to be playing a Field Blower. Whoa, do you think they're playing 7 Field Blower? I'm pretty sure they're not. So yeah, fine, they're going to get rid of some of your tools. But if you use them properly and only play one at a time, not always possible, sometimes you're going to have to empty your hand. But if you control this, they'll run out of Field Blower and you'll be fine. We've then got one switch to get your Pokemon out the active if you don't want to play a Guzma. And we've got one copy of Pal Pad, because sometimes you're going to have to get rid of things like Guzma with Ultra Ball, so it's really nice to then be able to get them back with Pal Pad. It's a straightforward deck that is wonderful. Hit for 110 every turn, hit weakness on relevant Pokemon, and play a deck where you can empty your hand every turn. Huge shout out to Emil for doing so well with this deck, and thank you very much for giving me a shout out when you posted this list. I know it sounds a bit lame, but I really love it when I inspire people to make fun, creative decks. I love seeing that somebody did well with Slowking, and then to find out they did well with Slowking and got the idea from me, I'm like, yeah, that's awesome. So there we go. You know the deal now, ladies and gentlemen. You've seen the list on the screen, so tell me what you think about it. Go nuts in the comment section, but do please be nice. Make sure you like this video, subscribe to this channel, follow me on Twitter at @TheWassy, and Twitch for some live action at twitch.tv/PTCGRadio. If you want to support the channel, get some bonus podcasts and all of that, head on over to patreon.com/PTCGRadio, where you can do exactly that. But by far the most important thing, as always, is to look after yourselves until next time. Thank you very much for watching. My name's Ross, and you've been watching PTCG Radio.